All right. Last little bit of music, just because I have questions. What was the first album you ever purchased? Do you remember?
That I purchased? No, I don't remember, but I do remember the very first record that I ever got. Bought actually.
There you go.
Took my allowance money, probably at Kmart or Zayre's, and I bought the 45 single of Leo Sayer, Love You More Than I Can Say. And, yeah, that was the very first one.
All right.
So it was kind of ironic that years later, just in the last 2 years, started playing that song. Dad actually sings it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned the chord progression and everything and how to play it and stuff, and then do the backups for him on it. Chris Young has a version of it too that's really good.
Chris Young could sing the Encyclopedia, and I'm gonna fucking put it on my phone. Like, all-time favorites: George Strait, and current. You said is Justin, probably. Well, probably
Jason and Justin.
Yeah. All-time favorite song.
Oh,
so like, for me, that's funny because I've grown
Promises by Randy Travis.
Really?
I think it's the best country song that's ever been written.
See, and like I was going to say...
Do you know it?
No, I've never heard it. For me, my all-time favorite song isn't even country. That's what's weird. It's In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. So,
okay.
Like
now,
I love
favorite
country.
song of all time.
Favorite song of all time.
Oh,
if I hear Phil Collins In the Air Tonight on one radio station, I'll listen all the way through. If I change the station, hear it again, I'm listening to it again. It's that simple.
Right. The Boys of Summer by Don Henley.
Great song.
That's my all-time really favorite song,
okay.
I think. But favorite country song is Promises.
I gotta listen
because
I probably have heard it, but
it's a story about an alcoholic who has broken his wife's heart so many times that he eventually forces her to leave him because he won't change.
Right.
And he basically says, I've made promises, broken promises. And,
yep.
And to me, it's the purest country song ever written.
All right.
So
there you go. I'm sure I've heard it.
It was, it wasn't released as a single. It was never a big hit unless you're a fan of Randy Travis's,
right.
But yeah, it's just great song. I happened on it by chance. I was setting up in a club one day, and somebody was playing the jukebox, and it was on random. You know how like no one will put money in it, and all of a sudden it'll just kick on. It kicked on, and that song came on, and I went, "What in the hell is that?" And I'm listening to it, and I went, "Oh,
right,
wow," So yeah,
good choice.
Yep.
All right, so this question has 3 different answers. I want who you would pick to collab with. Any song. You don't even have to pick a song, just artists. All-time country, current country, and someone from a different genre of music.
The Eagles. From a different
you would love
era of music.
Okay.
Oh, my
different
God.
Genre
to be in a room with the Eagles or Fleetwood Mac, flip a coin. I'll
right.
take either one.
Okay. So how about current country artists that you'd love to collab? Like you and that person collab a song with.
Jason Aldean or Justin Moore. Probably Jason.
Right.
Because
you guys have that same style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then all-time favorite country, George Strait.
So not favorite, but just the person you want to collab.
Yeah,
song
George.
With George.
I want to write a song with George Strait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think you keep up with him though?
No.
Well,
songwriting wise, maybe. Okay. I mean, he's only written.
I know he's not a writer.
No, he's only right exactly. So, but to step on a stage with George Strait and sing a fucking song,
you wouldn't be able to sing. You would just be staring.
Da 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 da. Yeah, it wouldn't be pretty.
That's awesome.
Drooling all over myself,
Oh, all right. That's an hour and 45 minutes of music. So that's a
Holy
big chunk.
cow.
I'm telling you. We got a small break in there that we cut out though. So,
You didn't ask me the one question I thought you were going to
about music.
Yeah, where the name Darkhorse came from.
I already know where it came from. Because you think it came from someone else. It came from this guy. Because he was looking for band names. And me being, because this is going to be another topic we're getting into, a huge wrestling fan, first thing that came to my head was Smoking Guns, which was Billy and Bart Gunn, tag team. And I was like, well, he can't use Smoking Guns. And so I just started thinking of things in the car. I'm like, what, Darkhorse? And then we just kind of mentioned it once at Koala, and you were like, okay.
Actually, it was written down on a list that your mom handed me.
Yeah, it was.
Stetson was one. Coyote was another. There were several.
Just different things.
But what you didn't know was driving to practice one night, the first drummer I had, he mentioned it because there was a band from his hometown that had that same name, and he just felt that it fit what I was trying to do because I'm the young guy. I'm the new young guy in town. No one believed in me, and everyone just, oh, that's Mike and Patsy's kid,
right,
or whatever. No one, and he said, the guys in the band were kind of, let's just face it, they like to drink, they like to party,
right.
They weren't considered serious musicians, Lester and Charlie, they
were good,
yeah,
but they weren't serious
right.
about it.
So he said, this is we're kind of like a dark horse band, and it just stuck with me. Because I was leaning towards Coyote.
Okay.
Naming the band Coyote, but that name just stuck with me, and so the more I thought about it, I thought,
I guess if he mentioned it and I wrote it down, it probably that's a sign of
it's
like
twice. So that's where it came out. However, the website logo you created,
yes, did that when I was
and
in college.
When I finally get a tattoo, it will be of that logo. I was thinking of doing a tramp stamp with it,
that'd look good.
Right there.
Nice little target.
That way when Robin's on top, she can, it's just a joke.
Why would you be on your back? Why would you be on? Oh my God. That's terrible. So bad. Oh, but like I said, with Smoking Guns, the reason I'm such a big fan of wrestling is because of you. Even though you're not even a fan anymore, really.
I've fallen off. Recently, I've started flipping it back on because I've been watching After Dark,
right?
Which is the true stories behind different things that happen in wrestling. With
Chris
that
Jericho. Vice show.
It's
or Dark Side of the Ring.
Dark Side of the Ring.
Did you watch the Owen Hart one? Dude, I cried. That was rough.
It was real rough.
The Benoit one was okay. I didn't really like it. That's just
the Benoit one, man.
Just intense.
That was. I'm glad someone finally did that because there were a lot of questions that weren't answered by the media,
right?
Over that, what actually happened, what brought it on, and the CTE was not known then,
right?
So,
and because I agree with Jericho,
no one still knows
no
what actually happened. I mean, we know what the end result was, but.
Well, there's also a theory that
his wife.
There was also a theory that he didn't.
Stayed in the house for 2 days.
There was a theory that Kevin Sullivan did it. Did you know that?
What? No.
There's a theory about that. Now, I'm not saying that's true, obviously, but there was a theory going around, and they pointed things out. They said time frame of when he texted and called Chavo would have been when he was dead already. The time. How did that happen? They said the way that the doors looked was there was a small forced entry or something. Why was there a forced entry? They checked where Kevin in Key West during that time. No, he wasn't. Where was he? So there's a small theory about it because he had a lot of heat about that because Chris basically stole his wife, but that was also 20 years prior.
That's what I was going to say. It was a long, not 20, but 10
still,
years prior. Yes.
I don't really see Kevin being that spiteful over. He has a good life in Key West, so I don't believe the theory, but there's a lot of different theories about it. I think it's exactly what we saw. It was a man that lost it, whether it be through CTE, steroids, whatever it was, and murder-suicide. And I'm glad. I think it took somebody like Chris Jericho, who's always been very vocal about everything. And this is a guy who he considered a brother. So he's going to talk about it, and he did. And he let it out, and they got a lot of info on that.
Yeah. So that show has kind of drawn me back into wrestling a little bit. I got out of it when, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe even a little longer.
You probably got out of it when it was getting the most popular even.
WCW versus, when Stone Cold kind of faded off.
You did,
and The Rock went to acting, and Benoit did what he did. It was kind of like, well, all right.
Your genre is done.
But the big thing was, I didn't want to watch these guys talk on a mic all the time. I wanted to see them run in from behind and blast each other. And what was happening in WCW was, dude, the Nitro parties. Loved Nitro
at the Koala Bar, at the house. It didn't matter.
Yep,
it was a good time. That's why the new promotion that Cody runs, the Dusty Sun. I think you'd enjoy that. It has this old school Nitro feel to it.
Does it?
Yeah, it's really entertaining. And I actually shit on it when it first started. I was like, meh.
I have to check it out.
But it's very entertaining. They got Dustin's there, Jericho's there. They got some older guys, but they got a lot of these young guys that, man, they are so good. They got a dude that's so entertaining. He goes by name Orange Cassidy. Barely even wrestles. His whole gimmick is he stands there in jeans and he has his hands in his pockets the whole time. But it's so entertaining because someone will go to hit him and he'll duck it and he'll just walk. And they get so aggravated and they'll like throw him into the ropes and like go to flip him. And he'll just jump over him, land, pop up, and just look at him. You can see the aggravate. It's so good.
Oh,
so
I have to check that out.
He plays this lazy thing off so much that, like, even when he comes out for like a thumbs up, he stands there and he goes, and just barely puts his thumb in there. He's like, "All right, I'm here." He's very entertaining. But AEW,
check that out.
Is very good. Yeah.
Oh wait, I just realized we aren't social distanced enough.
I don't give a damn. Our faces are 6 feet apart.
I don't think so. I think they're like 5.5.
I don't give a damn. I'm social distanced. You want to leave? Go ahead and leave.
Right.
We got, because we have it on the background, we're gonna get into the sports stuff. You're watching some golf thing right now.
That does not even sound right because I'm not a golf guy. I'm only watching this because Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are doing a golf challenge, and those are my two of my favorite guys to watch ever compete.
What do you think about Tom coming to Tampa?
Oh, that's amazing. Right? I mean, how the Buccaneers pulled that off, I don't know. I don't care. I don't
think it had anything to do with them. I think somehow he had interest in coming here.
He did.
So that's what it is.
Because of
there's no team that can persuade
Arians.
Tom Brady.
Right. He, man, I'm geeked about that. I've always been a Tom Brady fan. Always.
Right. And you're not a Patriot fan. You're a Redskins fan.
No, right. I'm a Redskins fan. Redskins, Bucks, and then I'm like a fan of players.
Okay.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, those guys. I mean, I love to watch those guys play. So that kind of makes me a fan of those teams as well because I like to watch those guys play and I want them to win.
I think they'll do. He has a lot of tools.
The Bucks?
Yeah. He has
I think it's going to come down to the defense.
Yep.
I think offensively, they'll be in every single game. If the defense can perform and stand up to, like a team like Kansas City, for example, how do you stop their wide receiver core? Because if you stop their wide receiver core, you got this kid out of LSU coming out of the backfield.
Yeah.
So Tom's career in New England last year, the numbers were not there. But if you look at who he had around him, he didn't have anybody. He had Edelman.
Right.
Who's Edelman
who's probably very lonely right now. Because not only that, but
he's pissed.
Gronk came down.
Edelman's pissed. He's like, seriously? I need to get in Tampa. Can you imagine him coming to Tampa? Come on, dude. Son.
Jesus. That's a Yankee move. You know?
You got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then you throw Edelman running across the middle. Forget about it.
You can't cover all that.
O.J. Howard. Come on. I'm so glad they didn't trade him.
Right.
I mean, I think if they had traded O.J. Howard, they would have made a huge mistake because Tom Brady's going to make O.J. Howard into a beast.
Yeah. That's what he does. And see, this is the biggest question I always had because I'm obviously not a Patriots fan. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, I wasn't a Brady fan because he was a Patriot. Mm-hmm. But I also, just like I'm not a Yankee fan, I also recognize, hey, Derek Jeter's one of the best baseball players that ever lived.
Right. You recognize the player.
Tom Brady's the best quarterback that's ever played this game. Yeah. How good is he? Now we're going to find out.
Well,
he's not in the...
And he's also 43, I
know.
think.
So you take that into account, but still, you got a whole new system. You got a whole new element of weather and just the stadium. And the Bucs fans are obnoxiously loud.
I was stunned that he left New England.
I wasn't.
Stunned.
There's a clip. I don't know if you saw it. It was after last season. Him and Edelman were sitting somewhere, and they were just kind of talking about things. And Edelman's like, oh, no, he's staying. And Tom just kind of goes, like, I was like, whoa, sir. So I just whispered, no, he's not, behind Edelman's back. But, yeah, so that's going to be exciting. I don't think football should be affected by COVID. I think by then, hopefully, we're good. Because I miss, dude,
who knows,
hockey.
Man. Dude, I'm dying. The Lightning
they were just coming back to where they were killing.
Now, I mean, when it ended, they had just lost a couple of close games, but man, so I hear they're going to start up like a 24-team playoff tournament format.
Hopefully.
Hopefully is right because I miss it. Listen, I miss it so bad. I record all their games and then I go back and watch them and fast forward through the intermissions, okay? And I have 5 or 6 games that I've recorded. I'll put it on for background noise while I'm just getting ready for bed or whatever, you know. Going on. Yeah, you know. The other night there was a rebroadcast on NHL Network of the 2016 Lightning and Penguins game, and I can't wait to watch that tonight when I'm laying in bed because that's what I'm gonna do. 9:00. I'm going to lay in bed, get ready for, for bed because I have to work tomorrow, which sucks. But
really?
Yeah. That's
another. We'll get on that.
Yeah, we don't need to get on that.
Before we leave football, who's your all-time favorite player to watch?
Well, that's easy. You already know the answer.
Yes.
I don't even have to say.
John Riggins.
Yep. John Riggins, the
All-Star
diesel.
before All-Star.
Yeah,
that dude.
Absolutely.
Yep. See, I grew up in different genres, and I'm a Browns fan, but my all-time favorite would have been Allstott.
Right.
Watching
absolutely.
That dude go.
Loved watching Mike Allstott. Yep. Gruden ruined his career here.
Unfortunately.
Which is
simple. Like, in a weird way, like, I got to meet him a lot with Mike.
You're personal friends with Mike Allstott.
Yeah, kind of. Well, was. One of my exes was friends with his wife, and we got to go over there a handful of times and stuff, and he was a really nice guy, really cool guy, and just... There was a thing on the NFL's YouTube page last year, winterish. I might have to send it to you, and it's just Mike sits down and he talks about his career from Purdue and coming up and everything, and how during the draft he was sitting in Bill Cowher's office because they were going to draft him, and he was just sitting there waiting, and then they took Bettis, and he was like, oh. And then Tony said, hey, we need this kid. Tony Dungy brought him down here, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's really good video.
I thought Bettis came out of the Rams and was traded to
I thought he did too.
Pittsburgh.
But this is the story he was telling. So I don't know. Maybe they traded.
Maybe the trade.
So maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Instead of drafting. Okay. That might make sense then. But yeah, Mike Allstott was definitely my favorite to watch. But hopefully we get a good season because I'm dying to see something.
Mm-hmm.
Rays are still your favorite baseball team, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I've kind of, I don't know, a couple of years ago when the Rays traded away all their players, I was like, what? I just kind of stopped watching them. And then they actually did really well. And then
2 seasons now they've done pretty good.
And then I got back on the bandwagon a little bit last year. Not to the same level that I was at in the 10 years prior. From 2007 until 2018, I watched 95% of their games.
Right.
Went to probably 5 to 10 games a year. Just a big fan. I mean, that last year, oh gosh, Lou Piniella, from the All-Star break on, they were the number 1 team in baseball.
Right.
But then he left, and they brought in Joe Madden, and that first year sucked, and I was like, whatever.
I don't think the team gave him a chance either to do what Joe does best. And once they did,
He turned it around.
Dude.
That 08 team was something special.
From 08 on, they weren't just the Devil Rays. They were
Nope.
like, shit, we got to play the Rays.
Yep.
And and that whole season, you think back to like the fight in Boston when Johnny and Price and them, they all got, you think about the preseason, even, I forgot his name, but against the Yankees, they got in a scrap.
Yep.
The Rays were not taking the shit anymore.
Nope.
And people recognized it.
Yep. I agree.
And I've always been a White Sox fan. And so that, as a native, I tried following the Rays. I wanted to be a fan. I was a huge fan of Johnny Gomes and Ben Zobrist. And then once they started trading people away, I'm like, this is really crappy because I was never a fan of Evan Longoria. A lot of people were. I was never a fan.
a big Longoria fan.
But they kept Evan and traded Zobrist away, and I thought that was the dumbest thing you could do. And it turned out to be pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
You paid Evan to do nothing. Zobrist went to Kansas City, won a World Series, then went to the Cubs and won a World Series. I'm like, I know he didn't do it on his own, but come on.
They should have paid Ben Zobrist. Period.
Where's Evan now? Do you even know? San Diego? San Francisco? Is he still there, though?
Yeah.
Like,
he's still there.
I just couldn't believe it.
So,
do you have an all-time favorite baseball player? Because I don't remember you ever being a big baseball fan before the Rays.
Well, so... I grew up playing baseball, so I've always kind of kept it on my periphery. I was a big Atlanta Braves fan because my buddy Junior was a big Braves fan, him and his dad. So, every time I went over there, it was always Braves baseball was on, and I kind of followed Dale Murphy and those guys. And in the late 80s, early 90s, when Atlanta was in the playoffs every year, oh my gosh.
What?
Wow.
As we're watching,
was that Brady that just hit that? Sorry, guys. This fundraiser is on, and one of them just blasted a shot. Tom Brady just blasts this shot. Watch
Did it go in? Oh, wow.
Watch it hook in, and then he's like, "That's right." look, he's bowing. He's like, "That's right. That's me. That's me all day long." Unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Right. Sorry, guys. You'll have to check that out on YouTube. That was an amazing shot, and I'm not
a golf fan now
in any way, shape, or form. Could I ever handle watching golf? But with this COVID thing going on, no live sports,
right?
And you've got two of the greatest of all time, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, talking smack to each other.
And they're teamed up with Tiger and Phil Mickelson. Like,
right?
That's the four. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
so
huge.
And then you got Charles Barkley doing play-by-play.
Jesus,
Charles.
I mean,
yeah.
He's probably not even talking about it. He rambles on about stuff that makes no sense.
Look, he hit Peyton's like, dude, that was that. Yeah, he's like, dude, that was awesome. So anyway, sorry guys.
Man.
So what were we talking about now? Oh,
if
favorite baseball player of all
favorite,
time?
Yeah.
Cal Ripken Jr.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Because
I got to see that last game of the streak. I remember watching that on TV.
Growing up, I played baseball and football in Maryland, and for some reason the team names that I played for were always the Orioles.
Right.
And
I wonder why.
So yeah,
Maryland.
Right. Exactly. So Cal Ripken was always my favorite player when I was a kid. So
Awesome. As we're winding down, we're going to get into the little questions here. These are just basic questions that we found, but I added one in here that is strictly to you. Best Impractical Jokers skit you've ever seen. Because that is your show.
Love the Impractical Jokers. Have watched every single episode many, many, many times. Typically, it's my go-to. Right? Because they always show, it's always on True TV. It's rare that it's not. So if I come home from work and Robin's working and I'm doing stuff on the laptop, you know, if I'm doing a report or whatever, it's playing in the background. As soon as I come home, I turn the TV on and put it on 55, which with Spectrum is True TV, and it's always background noise for me. COVID thing, we talking about COVID at all?
I try not to. I've covered it in every freaking podcast. I'm so tired of it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're at risk about it too, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm super high risk. We haven't talked about it, and I'm perfectly fine with not talking about it.
Talk a little bit about how you feel about it, though.
I have a device implanted in my chest to it's a defibrillator as well as a pacemaker, and you know I my heart got attacked by a bacterial virus. I was misdiagnosed for 3 months while I was in congestive heart failure. They thought it was bronchitis, and over Thanksgiving weekend, it caught up to me. So anyway, I am at super high risk for this COVID. And I work in an assisted living community. I am in charge of sales and marketing and building community relations. So I have been in and out of every hospital, in and out of every skilled nursing facility, in and out of people's homes before this COVID, and this COVID shutdown didn't happen until March. Well, we think Robin had it in January.
Right.
She was deathly sick for 7 or 8 days straight, and literally in the house, not going to work or doing anything for 2 weeks. 2 full weeks. She was in bed for 5 days straight, alternating between sweating and shivering. You know, she was too sick for me to take her to the hospital. She just like, no, leave me alone. I'm not going anywhere. You know, finally 5 days later, I got her to brush her teeth, you know, because it was getting rough. I'm kidding, babe. I love you. But anyway, so... You know, so the COVID thing, all right, so here's the reality. I missed a lot of time with my heart, okay?
Right.
I have to work. She's now out of work and has been for, almost 2 months now. So, you know, I have to work. Luckily, I have a job that is still necessary, you know. So anyway, I take my precautions. I wear my mask. I don't step out of my truck without it. If I'm going into this gas station or whatever, I have hand sanitizer in my pocket, on the passenger seat next to my truck, on my desk at work. We have it on our counter here in the kitchen. I have it in the bathroom. I mean, you know, I'm continuously using it. But at the same time, after what I went through with my heart, bottom line is this: I'm living my life.
Good.
I'm living it. And if something happens to me, okay, I'm taking all the precautions I can, but I'm going to live my life. And I'm sorry, but I'm an American, and I have rights and freedoms that are provided to me through the Constitution of the United States. And I'll be damned if I'm going to stand by and let somebody make a political decision that polices me from going outside.
So you're against the lockdown?
Well, yes and no.
So
right?
now here's let me ask you this then, because I'm for the lockdown.
Right.
Ever since we opened Florida back up, the numbers have jolted up. We just had 1,000 new cases just 2 days ago.
Sure.
Okay, and you take into effect like someone like my dad,
Mm-hmm.
someone like Grandpa that I see a lot. I could have it and not know.
Correct.
Now they've got cases shown in upstate and now in Florida in children. They're starting to show.
Yep.
Now,
but hardly any of those
okay,
fatal.
right, but still,
It's showing as
it's
antibodies.
still scary.
Yeah, of course.
So,
it is.
I have said that I was lucky enough during the lockdown. I was locked down for about 5 to 6 weeks. I was lucky enough to be employed by a company that could continue to pay me.
Right.
Mainly because I'm an essential part of that company, because if something were to happen, even while we're closed, I have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't, I might have a different outlook on it if I wasn't getting paid. But to me, it's scary. And I'm out there, people are coming next to me. Nobody in this world is following the rules. 6 feet, guys. Stand 6 feet. Nobody's coming into these stores with masks on.
Right.
Maybe 10%.
Right.
So that scares me.
Yep.
Now, say that the government doesn't do the shutdown because you know, like you said, you have your rights, you have your freedom to decide. Now, if a company, say the company that employs Robin,
Mm-hmm.
says we're not shutting down,
Mm-hmm.
but your job isn't at risk if you want to stay home, then do you suggest
So-
her to stay?
I agreed with the shutdown when it happened. Okay. I agreed that this country needed to do whatever was necessary to protect the citizens, right? But do it with a common sense approach. Okay.
Okay.
So, how in the world is it okay that you can go shopping at Walmart, Circle K, where the heck ever you want to go, but you can't go to church?
Well, and that's
How about you can go to Home Depot, but you can't buy paint
right?
because you can't paint your house. You can go to the beach, but you can't go in the water. What the what?
Right.
What the hell are you talking about? I can't go in the water. I'm a grown ass man. If I want to go to the beach and go into the water and there's no one else around me, you know, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That part of it where all of a sudden somebody's on a power trip because they think they can do and say and get away with whatever they want until people start suing you and taking you to court for taking away their freedoms. And all of a sudden the Supreme Court says, well, by the way, sorry, Governor, you can't enforce that.
Right.
It's unenforceable that you can't buy seeds to plant a garden. What the I'm in my own yard planting a garden and I can't buy seeds? That's the stuff I'm talking about. You know, do I think we should open up a baseball stadium and have 50,000 people in it? Nope.
Okay.
Absolutely not. A football stadium? No. But I do think we can manage it to open slowly but steadily.
Mm-hmm.
Here is an insider's point of view. Okay. From insider, I mean someone who's actually dealing with sick people, dealing with healthy people, and everything that happens, because the seniors are the ones that are paying the price. Okay?
Big time.
So we've been on lockdown for 60 days. Okay? And here's what that means in an assisted living. You've had 60 days where your residents are kept sequestered in their rooms. Seriously, sequestered in their rooms, right? Their rooms are smaller, about the same size as this room we're in, maybe a little smaller. Actually, they are smaller, 12 foot by 16 foot. Okay.
Wow.
This room's probably 20 by 20, something like that. Your meals are brought to you by staff. Your medications are brought to you by staff. Your beverages are brought to you by staff. And you're kept in your room for 24 hours a day. You can't go out into the hallway and speak to your neighbor across the hall. You can do it from your doorway, but damn, don't step a foot outside of it because you're going to have a staff member saying, oh, no, you got to get back in your room. Now put yourself at 80 years old. Let's say you're a veteran and you spent 5 years in Vietnam fighting for this country. And some 20-year-old is coming to tell you to get back in your room.
Right.
What do you think your attitude's going to be?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Have you had a lot of pushback like that?
Yes. So all right, so here is the reality, and this is something I'm very passionate about this because I love my job. I love what I do. I love helping families. Our seniors that are in senior living are suffering from depression, and it's getting worse and worse every single day. Suicide threats, let me rephrase it. Suicide threats are going up. People are withdrawing into themselves. Their physical health is getting worse and worse. I'm having behaviors from residents we've never had behaviors from in the 2+ years I've been in this community. We're having to issue 45-day notices to people that we've never had issues from. And it's because their families can't visit them. Their friends can't visit them. They're not even allowed to have packages dropped off by families. You have to go through Walmart.com, Amazon, something like that. Okay. It is rough. They have to come up with a way to allow families to visit their loved ones. We're doing it through FaceTime and Skype and these types of things, but it's nowhere near enough, nowhere near the same. I have 152 people in my building. I don't have enough residents or staff or hours in the day to FaceTime for everybody.
Right.
There are some residents that don't want to be bothered, that have no problems being in their rooms. Most of them, it's horrific. We're doing everything we can. My company is doing everything we can to keep 152 residents safe. And so far, knock on wood, not a single employee is tested positive for COVID. Not a single resident tested positive for COVID. My company is doing something right, especially when you consider the size.
Right.
We have 150. Well, we started out the month with 158 residents, and we're down to 152 because we've had people go out to the hospital that needed a higher level of care, so they're not coming back. But the reality is there's no reason a family member. All right, so we have a nice patio. Right? So here's what I'm trying to get approved. We have a nice patio outside. Let's allow families to visit outside with masks and gloves on and put a gown on them. Have our resident glove up and do the same thing. And at least let them come and visit with their family member once a week.
Right.
So we met as a team, all the department heads, on Friday to come up with different things to do to keep residents engaged, keep them from being so lonely, mealtime, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is the social hours in a senior living setting. It's when everybody gets together, talks, bullshits, hangs out, because we as a company don't take meals to their rooms.
Okay.
Because we want them to get out of their room at least that little bit of time. But now we have them sequestered in their room. And let's say you have a roommate, right? You share a room. There's two in a room. If you or the roommate gets sick and go out to the hospital, when you come back, you can't go into your room. You have to go into an isolation room for 14 days. Even if you're only going to the emergency room.
Wow.
Because we don't know who you've been exposed to.
Right.
So in order to keep the other residents safe, you're sequestered in your room. So while, yes, I approved of the isolation in the beginning, I don't approve with some of the restrictions. I think they're asinine. Thank God I'm in Florida and DeSantis is my governor, and he's a Republican and he's not about government control. Thank God. Those are the facts, man. That's the unvarnished truth of what it's like in senior living centers right now, where over a third of the deaths have actually occurred.
Right.
You know, and that's but so these residents are flat out refusing to fall in line. Okay. Flat out cussing you out, telling you get the hell out of my face, go F yourself. You know, I mean, I have a hardcore group of residents that they don't give a damn what we say to them. They're going to do what they want to do. They've earned that right. And what they say specifically is even a prisoner, a murderer, gets to get out of his cell for an hour a day. They're right.
Right.
They are correct. So, you know, there's a lot of different studies. The president of the United States is not a stupid man, regardless of what people think. He's a very intelligent man. He's taking that hydroxychloroquine for a reason. I don't know what that reason is.
He did tell people to drink bleach. Come on.
He didn't mean it like
I know
that.
he didn't, but you look at all the people and how easy they're persuaded. I understand.
Right.
He was joking. It was funny. I know. I understand, but you got to realize that
the way it was portrayed on the media, and that's why I said to watch Fox News if you only watch the other.
The problem is anything he does is going to be turned into something else.
It is. And
so
that's why if you just look at things fairly, okay? So if you're going to watch Fox News, you need to watch the other channels to get the counter of it, and vice versa. Because the bleach thing, he did not.
He was not serious.
Yes. God, no. You know.
The dude takes it seriously. If you don't believe it, watch that video when that lady coughed and he's like, later. Dude, that was the funniest thing ever.
Yes, it was. I cracked up. I watched it 5 or 6 times and I showed it to Robin. I was like, watch this.
She just, I'm out.
Yep. That was hilarious, you know. So anyway,
he takes it serious. He understands.
Yeah. But so, I mean, I'm in a business that takes care of these seniors, and we're trying to do the best that we can. But they literally just said it's going to be another 60 days that these skilled nursing facilities and assisted livings will be on lockdown. The depression and the mental health issues that I'm seeing after 60 days, I cannot imagine what it's going to be like within 30 days from now.
Right.
I can't even begin to imagine how bad it's actually going to be. The deterioration of people when they're not given exercise, allowed, and it's not that we're not giving exercise, because we try to get all the residents out of their rooms for 15 or 20 minutes a day of exercise, but just normal walking from your room down to the dining room and back, you know, that's 6 times a day. They're not doing any of that. Right. You know, walking down to the med station to get your medications 3 times a day. They're not doing any of those physical activities. They're sitting in a chair in their bed watching TV.
Right.
You know, and that's across this country.
Yeah.
It's not just my single building. That's the true lifestyle. And so imagine yourself in a room 12 by 16, and we have decent sized studios, watching TV, and that's all you get to do.
And the argument you're going to get with that is, but they're healthy. They don't have
No,
COVID.
they're not.
But they don't have COVID.
But what else? But what's
I know.
happening outside of the COVID? So here. I heard this proposition, and at first I thought how stupid it was. The proposition was, have a building that is kept like that, COVID-free and on lockdown. And then have a building over here where the person is given the choice to take a risk. Where you can have family members visit. You can go down to the dining room for your meals. You can participate in activities that are structured. So you have both best of, you make your own decision. If you're 80 years old, you've earned the right to decide what you want to do with the remaining days of your life.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's just part of being an American. You have earned the right. You have inherent freedoms. And if you decide you want to live over here and roll the dice, that's your decision.
Right.
You're not going off on outings. You're not leaving the building, but you're allowed to live your life in this building. What are you going to choose? I know me personally. Like I said, I'm at high risk right now. I'm overweight. I have a heart condition. I actually have a device implanted in my chest. My comorbidities, I'm super high risk. I was out fishing for 8 hours yesterday. I was out on a lake fishing. Caught a beautiful 5-pound black bass, and that sucker was black as hell. And then I caught a 3.5-pounder right behind him.
It's a weird transition, but
it's a real, yeah.
No, but we're gonna stick to that
because I'm gonna live my life.
There you go.
Period. End of story. And nobody knows how much time we're given.
Right.
So, I spent 2 months scared to death. Scared.
Media told you to be
literally scared out of my mind.
You were told to be scared.
Yeah, I was analyzing every little breath I took, basically. I was checking my blood pressure 10, 15 times a day. I was weighing myself 2 times a day to make sure I didn't put on any extra fluid. I was doing I was scared to death. Yeah, I was scared, right? And I just reached a point where I was having anxiety attacks every single day.
Wow.
My fiance has become so attuned to how I'm feeling. If I'm sitting here, let's just hypothetically say I'm sitting here and she's sitting here and we're watching TV. If I'm sitting here like this too long, she'll ask me what's wrong.
Right.
Recline that chair. This is the chair where it happened in.
Right.
So I don't like this chair, but it's not the chair's fault. Chair didn't do anything to me.
Exactly. Got to get over that, unfortunately, but yeah.
So, but I just reached a point where I said, you know what? My sanity's worth more than this. I can't live I'm no good to myself or anyone else if I'm too scared to do anything, I guess.
Right.
Because for a while I didn't want to be left alone. I was afraid to be left alone.
Yep.
I was afraid to go anywhere. Literally afraid to leave my house and go anywhere. The bedroom was my safe haven. And it's been a process to get over. So to get over what my issues were, and then to have this COVID thing come down, well, shit, I could very easily stay in this house. I could work from home because I have a doctor's note saying I need to be working from home.
Right.
I have reasons to not venture outside of my house. I have more reasons than most not to venture outside my house, but that's just not who I am.
Right.
It's just not. So anyway, enough of all that good stuff. Now we're gonna get on to some fishing.
Yes.
Love fishing.
Because I talked with Grandpa last week. You haven't watched it yet.
No, I have not seen.
Because I got to get your side of the story and hear your good laughter of when you allowed our grandfather to fall in the water.
Dude. I can close my eyes and it's like a movie.
It's gotta be the funniest thing that you've ever. Because you didn't even see the fall, did you?
No. I saw everything.
Okay, he didn't think you saw the fall.
No. I saw everything. He's just lucky I had left my camera back in the cabin. Okay. So here's a story. Grandpa and I would go up to Lake Panasoffkee.
This is what I was talking about last week at Idlewild. This is where he and I grew up fishing, basically. So
one week, or let's say 3 or 4 or 5 days, in the spring and in the fall, he and I went away. Normally just the 2 of us, but later on it was the 3 of us.
Yep.
So on this one trip, the water level was down really low, so you couldn't pull the boat into the canal to park in the boat slips. You had to park at the very end of the long pier that went out into the water. Now, there weren't actual stairs or a ladder at the end of this pier to step into your boat. So you kind of had to lean under a railing and climb down. It wasn't accessible very easily, but it was what it was. We were up there to fish, so damn, we were going to fish. Normally, I got down to the boat first and to the dock because I tried to beat Grandpa down there so I could make a few casts off the end of the dock, because most of the time I could catch one right then and there and be the first one with a fish in the boat. Okay. Well, this particular time he got down there we went down together, and he was getting on the boat first, and he climbed through the railing and he stepped down onto the boat, and the boat bounced, and he just went ass over tea kettle into this mud. Okay, the water was only 1.5 feet deep, but up there at the lake, there's a layer of silt. So you think the bottom's here? The bottom's actually 3 foot below that.
Yep.
Okay. He comes up out of this stuff covered in this mud and this muck, and he's got algae and grass and mud and everywhere, covered head to toe. I am on my knees howling because I can see he's not hurt.
Right.
I mean, he literally stepped into the boat went back up, and he just went boom. And he came up spitting out mud and stuff. And he don't have much hair, but what little hair he had was just, it was hilarious. Okay. Hilarious. Funniest thing I'd ever seen. I finally got up off my knees and took off running back to the cabin. I wanted my camera.
Right.
I wanted some pictures. And that's awful to say of your 70-year-old grandfather, that you want pictures of him covered in mud, but damn, I wanted pictures of him covered in mud.
And here's the other thing, like I said last week, he's 93 now. He doesn't live 93. So at 70, he was still living like he was 30 or 40. Yeah. So he was fine.
Yeah. So by the time I got back to the cabin and then back down to the boat ramp, he had already splashed most of the stuff off of him. And then he of course, climbed out, and he went in and took a shower and changed, and I stayed out there fishing. It was a little disposable camera. I didn't have much money back then. I don't think I probably didn't have the money to have it developed. I don't know what happened to the handful of pictures I got, but they were not. He had already cleaned most of it off himself by the time I got back down there. But it was freaking hysterical. I can see it. It's playing over and over in my head. him stepping down onto the green indoor-outdoor carpet of the deck of the boat, and it bouncing on him, and him just going back. God, that was so funny. That was priceless.
Moments like that is why camera phones were invented.
Absolutely.
Man.
Oh gosh, if I'd have had my cell phone, man, I'd have won 10 grand on Funniest Home Videos all day long.
Oh man,
all day long.
Let's talk about how amazing Idlewild is.
Oh yeah,
just
not anymore.
No, I haven't been there in a while. Last time I went there was Kenzie was teeny tiny.
Yeah,
I had a little family vacation.
Yep.
But
so
I thought the new owners did a good job with.
Not now.
No, that's a shame.
No, it is very much a shame. Idlewild's a campground. It's a fish camp with cabins and boats you can rent and everything. They got a pool and everything. And he and I have been going there since we were little kids.
Yep.
The cabins are not cared for the way they should be. The grounds are not very good. We went up there last September. The docks had all been ripped up and ripped out because a storm had come through and ripped the roof off, so they just ripped it all out. Now, they should have told me, hey, listen, there's nowhere to park your boat.
Right.
The water's really high. You're going to have to walk through 3 feet of water to get down to anywhere. And instead, they never said a word. Right. We were the only ones there. The cabin had not been cleaned. They had 10 cabins and they had to move us to 3 different ones because shit wasn't working in any of them. It was,
that's heartbreaking.
It was to the point that, Robin's like, I don't know, I'm coming back here,
Man, that hurts.
And I get it. I felt bad for her because all she wanted to do was lay out her goal was to lay out in the pool for 4 days,
right,
and just relax and enjoy herself. And instead, the pool had dead frogs floating in it. I literally called them a couple of days before and said, hey, listen, guys, do me a favor and please make sure that pool's clean because last time we were up here, it wasn't clean. And my fiance, her goal is to lay out by, oh, yeah, no, it's cool. It's clean. No, it wasn't and hadn't been. As a matter of fact, Ray and I were trying to scoop a bunch of stuff out just to talk them into going into it.
Right.
I was very disillusioned when we were up there. So
that hurts to hear because that's something I wanted to do this summer with her.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not.
Who knows? I mean, that was in September. We're now 7-8 months away. The time before that was amazing.
Right.
The time, I mean, literally, we were there. 6 months before? We were there in like February or March, and this is of 2019. There was a guy, like a all around handyman that had been doing some work up there, like he worked for the people that own the campground. The cabins were all clean. The bushes, everything was trimmed down. The dock area was, you could tell, had been upgraded and maintained. The wood on the pier heading out, some of it had been replaced because it needed to be, and we were very happy. So we were really looking forward to going up in September, and
right.
And then it was like, what in the hell?
That sucks. There's always been 2 dreams of mine. One of them more recent within the past 10 years, and it's like a dream of mine is to own my own cigar lounge. I want to open my own cigar lounge. That's like a retirement dream, I guess you would say. Another one was always to maybe one day own Idlewild and just live there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have loved to have owned it, lived
Me too.
it, maintained it. So
Me too.
If we hit the lottery, that's what
we
we'll do.
fantasized about that. We talked about that and what we would do. And
would you now? For me, there's emotional attachment to the cabins. Aside from like cleaning them and maintaining and upgrading a little, would you change them at all, or would you try and keep that?
I would definitely upgrade all of them. I would upgrade.
You wouldn't leave them kind of how they are to still have that nostalgia?
Well, yes and no. Like some of them have wood paneling all throughout,
right.
So they're like log cabins. Those I would leave alone,
Okay.
except upgrade the furniture,
Right.
put flat
The
screens on the
appliances and
TVs. Yeah, that type of stuff.
Here's another thing before you keep going, because Grandpa kind of talked about this. Is like, you're up there to fish. You don't need to have these big TVs. She's not up there to fish.
Right.
A lot of the women. I'm not saying not all, but a lot of them, they're not up there to fish. They're up there because you want to fish.
Correct.
They want to have a nice time. Go put a nice TV in there. Put something nice area.
You're exactly right. I would repaint, obviously, all the cabins and everything. I would make that pool area a destination area.
Dude, it needs to be so much nicer.
I would have lights going. I would have all kinds of stuff going on out there. I would,
Yeah, that time that we had the family thing, you, Robert, and I were out there singing for hours at night. And it could have been so much better if it was lit.
Yeah,
and,
imagine having rope lights, different colored multi-light.
Yep.
I would have those. They put these lights in the pool that play music and have all these different colors going off. I would have one of those type of lights inside the actual light of the pool.
Yep.
I would certainly do it up. I would try to add a miniature golf course.
For kids,
Goonie golf, something, or a decent playground. There's no playground up there.
Yep.
You could, volleyball.
Yeah.
And there's an area for a volleyball court. You could really do a lot and make it more family oriented than what it currently is. Right now the only reason to go there is it's the only place up there with a pool.
Yeah.
They
had a basketball hoop at one point, but even that looked like it was run down.
No, that was just some cheap thing that they put up.
Still, and that was the former owners that did that. But yeah, I miss going up there. I'm gonna have to win the lottery. We'll buy it.
There we go.
All right, I'm gonna end it with 4 questions. Before I do, I know I'm gonna get a nice story out of this because Mom told me to bring it up, and we're sitting at 3 hours, so this is gonna be a 2-parter.
Wow.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a 2-parter, but she wants to have me bring up, because I didn't even know you did this, but a Las Vegas trip with Uncle Eddie.
Oh, yeah. So when I was 21, my Uncle Eddie, who lived out in L.A., said he was going to fly me out there. We're going to go fly out for a week, and he wanted to know what I wanted to do. In his head was fly out to L.A. for 2 or 3 days and then go to Vegas for 3 or 4 days. So I'm big into westerns.
Right.
And
Louis L'Amour, I always remember you reading.
Yeah, Louis L'Amour was my favorite author, and Old West, I always felt I should have been, a cowboy, I guess you would say, or a sheriff or whatever back in the Old West, Wild West. And I had recently...
This chair's making me sound like I've been farting this whole podcast, dude.
I had recently watched a thing on Old West ghost towns.
Ooh.
So when we talked, I had gotten a hold of a map through a local library of different Old West towns. And so I started planning a trip from LA south down to Arizona, through Arizona, and then up to Vegas. Now, this took a day and a half out of being in Vegas. Mm-hmm. So we were actually only in Vegas three days, 2 nights, instead of like 4.5 days and
3 nights.
Yeah, something like that. And he agreed to it. He's like, hey, it's your 21st birthday, whatever you want to do.
Right.
So that's what we did. I flew out to LA.
Sorry, guys.
Spent the night in LA. The next day he worked and I did the local Sunset Strip,
tour stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when he got home that evening, we hit the road and we drove to, we stopped somewhere in Arizona, and then the next morning we drove through Winslow, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and up into the, and we stopped at several places on the way and checked out different ghost town areas.
Right.
Okay.
Did you get to hit Tombstone at all?
No. We did not get to Tombstone.
To see Tombstone.
Yeah, we did not get to Tombstone, but So my birthday's in November, so it's Thanksgiving-ish, somewhere in there. We were, what people don't know about Arizona is it's all mountains, and a lot of mountains in Arizona, right? So we had stopped. We had driven through a mining town called Jerome.
Mm-hmm.
And we had stopped and just kind of got out and stretched our legs and thought, this is a pretty cool little town. We stopped because it was a ghost town. Part of the town was a ghost town. It was an old mining town that had burned down. But we had stopped for half an hour or whatever, and then we went on and we stopped, and our plan was to stop for the night in Sedona, Arizona, and then the next day we were going to continue on through the Hoover Dam and into Vegas. So we got to Sedona and we had dinner. Jerome was an hour back. And I don't know why, but one of us mentioned, what would be cool? Why don't we go back to Jerome and stay the night there? Mm-hmm. And I don't remember who suggested, but that's what we did. And so driving back, it had gotten dark. And at one point we were coming over a mountaintop into the next valley, and Jerome was halfway up the valley.
Okay.
So picture pitch black. There's no street lights. There's no nothing. You come over the top of this mountain, and all you see on the next mountain, in the middle of it, are Christmas lights. Okay. That was our vision of returning to Jerome.
Yeah, no, that's
Arizona.
That's a U-turn for me. That's a road of nightmares.
It was awesome. It was the prettiest thing we had seen.
Really? Man.
It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. We couldn't. So anyway, we got to Jerome. It was a boarding house style hotel where you didn't know it was a hotel.
Right.
Okay. Picture a strip mall that everything's connected. And there was a sign that said, one single sign, hotel, one single door. You go in this door and you go straight upstairs.
You know where those things are? Horror movies.
Yes, they are horror movies. Yes, they are. So you go up 2 flights of stairs, and then you come to this little lobby area, and the lady checks you in. And then there were probably 8 to 10 rooms, and there was a common area, bathroom, shower area. Right. So one person at a time could go to the bathroom or take a shower. Luckily, there weren't very many people there.
Right.
It was like maybe us and another person probably. But that's where we stayed.
That's the guy that killed people 2 states over.
Yeah, right. But this building had been built in the 1800s. So
right.
It is what it is. But it was really cool. It was such a cool. So we went out that night in Jerome, and there were only 2 or 3 bars in town. We hit all of them. There was one guy playing guitar and singing, and I was like, oh my God, I should be singing because hell, give me the guitar and let me play and sing, because even though I didn't know how to play guitar,
right.
I knew I could do better than this fucking guy.
Right.
This guy was awful, but he was the only entertainment in town. And the more we drank, the better he sounded pretty good by the time we were done. We thought we were listening to Eric Clapton or something.
Right.
We were like, damn, this boy good. No, he really wasn't. But yeah, we thought he was. And so the next day we drove we drove all the way into Vegas, and we stopped at the Grand Canyon. There was one funny thing was, I was driving. He had fallen asleep, and I had the camcorder, and I pulled it out, and I had it, this way, so it's facing him. I was spiraling through a mountain, and there was no guardrail. There was nothing to keep you there. All it was a sheer cliff, long freaking way down.
Nope.
So I'm doing like 15 miles an hour, maybe. And there's a camper that's coming. Now, I had seen the camper higher up. So I knew the camper was coming. I just didn't know when. Right. So I'm recording. waiting on this camper, and about 20 minutes later, here comes the camper, and it looks like it's coming right at us. And I was like, oh! And he opens his eyes and sees this fucking camper right here, and he fucking screamed like a little 8-year-old girl. He edited that out of the final version of the video. I was so mad that he edited it out. But yeah, that trip. My brother and I, he took a similar trip the next year out to Vegas because he turned 21 a year after I did. We have both talked about how much we would love to go back out to Vegas and try to recreate
your trips.
Yeah, our trips. You know, I stayed in the Luxor. He stayed, I think, in medieval times, if I'm not mistaken. You know, how cool would it be just to be able to go back out there? Out in Vegas, Eddie bungee jumped for the first time off of a big-ass crane. Nope. And he tried to pay me to do it with him. He offered me up to $200, and I was like, nope. Not a chance in hell am I jumping off that thing. You're out of your mind. I videoed him doing it, and I was like, you're fucking crazy. Right. So, lot of memories from that trip. Yeah, a lot of memories.
From what I can remember, I only got to meet him once. I think it was at Robert's wedding. And the only thing I really remember was there's a couple things I remember. One thing I'm going to talk about because I don't want to get in trouble again. I remember before the wedding, I'm standing there and he's looking at me. You know, something's wrong. And I was like, now I'm like 13, 14. I don't remember. Like, you guys are what, 16 years older than me? I don't know.
You were a little younger than
83 I was born.
I don't remember what year he got married in.
Anyway, I'm standing there and I've got a white shirt on, I've got a tie, and he says, you need a necklace. And he takes his necklace off and puts it on me. And he made sure, he said it has to be outside the shirt. Right. It looked like a Goomba.
Right.
Like straight out of New York.
Right.
Like I was supposed to put a hit on somebody.
Yeah.
He's like, now you're ready to go.
Right.
And I'm just like, who is this guy? He seemed like the coolest dude in the world, and Mom always talked so highly of him.
He was absolutely the coolest.
The only thing I could really compare him to would be you and Robert for me.
Right.
Whereas, like, you know, we're cousins. We're in the same generation family tree-wise. Mm-hmm. But you guys are older than me. You're in another generation of age. But, like, when it came to you two, I looked up to you two so much. Yep. You guys, like, closer than brothers. Mm-hmm. You know, my first beer was from you, you know, and it was disgusting.
I know you were like 10 years old. What the hell was I thinking?
Dude, it might have been right around there, actually. My first beer might have actually been like an old Milwaukee I stole from Grandpa, but still.
Right.
But still, like, I remember that. And just, I spent an entire summer with you, you know, when I was 14, 15.
Yep.
And we would, we would
go
to Koala at 7 o'clock at night to get ready. You would play. Or you would work. It'd be in the middle of the week. Leave Koala at 2 or 3 in the morning. Go to get breakfast. Come home. Play some video games. Go to bed at 10 in the morning.
Right.
Wake up at 5 and do it again. I'm like, no teenager really gets to live that way. And that was the best summer I could ever remember.
We had a lot of fun that
laser tag
summer.
At a school that was closed.
Yeah, we did a lot of stupid stuff. But
Tim broke your ribs.
Yeah, Tim frog splashed me, climbed on top of the bed, and frog splashed me and cracked a rib. That's when y'all won the title from me. They tag teamed me.
I don't think you ever wanted to do it again, though. You're like, I ain't wrestling no more. You guys are too big now.
Right.
That might have been the same year, though, with the best birthday party I ever saw you have. And you got destroyed on stage. Before he gets into his part, not only is he hammered and falls off stage, by the end of the night, they're carrying him out. Carrying him. I hold the door to be nice, and they grab him, and he just kind of looks at me with his face and goes, and then they keep dragging. I'm like, I don't know what that was, but I guess he's having a good time.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the night was spent by your aunt holding your hair.
Yeah, getting sick. Yeah, that was a rough one. That was 3 or 4 days getting over that one.
Oof.
That was alcohol poisoning. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you this, I've never touched Goldslugger since that night.
Goldslugger will mess you up.
Just the thought of it makes me sick.
Get you 3 days sick, or for some people, it might even get you married. So,
right.
You
Yeah.
never know with Goldschlager. I never touched it because of that night.
Right.
Like I was like, I don't know about that.
Mhm.
Then they created Jaeger, and I was like, oh, this is a good
Mhm.
idea. No,
No, not
No.
really.
Jaeger's okay. It's tequila I don't get along with.
Okay.
Tequila, I usually wake up with someone else's pants on. I don't know how that happened.
Whatever his name was, it doesn't matter.
Right? All right. We're gonna end with these 4 questions.
All
They're
right.
they're basic questions, but they're super funny. They could be funny depending on the answers, I guess. Is there a sound or noise that you just hate?
Yeah, fingers on a chalkboard, fingernails on a chalkboard.
That's very basic,
Yeah,
but it really.
oh God.
I don't think I've ever really
The
experienced
squeak?
it.
All right, so it's making me grit my teeth right now.
Thinking
Literally,
about
just thinking
it,
about it. Like
that.
the sound of chalk on a chalkboard.
Oh, when it hits that wrong,
Oh,
just get that little.
oh God, I'm literally. Oof. Yeah, that sound, that one in. Kill. That one gets me too.
You know what I just learned? Before we go on, you know that in Jason you have that.
Yeah.
Apparently that's not what the noise is. Apparently it was the sound guy. They needed some kind of noise to represent
Right.
Jason, so he just said, "How was it?" It was literally words like it was supposed to be his mom saying, "Jason, kill, Jason, kill."
Oh,
So it was something like that, and I was like, "Really?" I always thought it was just like a breathing.
yeah, me too.
That's crazy. If you had a time machine, what era would you go to? I think I
Old
know
West.
now. Old West.
Yeah, Old West.
Okay. If heaven's real and you make it up there, what do you expect God's going to say to you? So you met Josh, right? My buddy Josh.
Yes.
Josh's answer, which unfortunately can't be played because that podcast got ruined by audio, his answer was like, "What are you doing here?"
Right? No, I think God would. There are certainly some things in my life that He would,
Hang his head too.
yeah, that I would have to kind of hang my head and stub my toe and be like, I don't know what I was thinking right there. Hopefully, He'd want to have a Washington apple with me.
Right.
We'd get to go fishing, maybe pick a song or two.
Okay.
I one thing know for certain is that there's going to be one hell of a band waiting for me when I get to heaven.
Yep.
I know that for sure. I've lost some very true friends and great musicians in the last, I don't know how many years now, but yeah, it's going to be a party.
All right.
It's going to be a party.
And the last question, easily my favorite question. Favorite curse word?
It's got to be fuck.
There it is.
It's
You
gotta
gotta
be.
go with Carlin, right? It's the greatest curse word ever.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think I say it in every
Sentence.
other sentence.
Yeah.
I have to watch myself of who I'm around,
Right.
but I probably say it 4 or 5 times in a sentence if I'm not thinking about it.
It's a great word.
Yeah.
Emphasizes.
Yeah.
It has passion behind it.
Yeah. It describes an action.
Yeah.
I mean, it does everything.
Does everything. Exactly. Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, at 3 hours and 12 minutes, I do have a little bit to cut out of a break, but
Right.
dude, this was awesome.
It was.
I'm so glad
It
you
was.
finally
And,
got on.
and we haven't even touched on.
Dude, there's still so much.
There's a lot. So at some point, we'll have to circle back
Well,
and do another
Next
one.
week, hopefully, I'll be able to sit.
Because I would like to know.
Yeah.
I would
Nobody
like-
ever asks me stuff,
Right.
so-
I would like to know what specifically made you start this. I know that you said it's always been kind of something you wanted to do, but where did that come from?
Okay. Well, like, I just fell in love with listening to podcasts first, and it started when I was still doing home
See, I've never
remodeling.
listened to one until
Right.
yours.
Okay.
Never have.
See, for me, it sounded dumb. It sounded like AM radio that Grandpa always listened to, and I was
Mhm.
like, this is stupid. And when I was still doing home remodeling with Paul, a lot of downtime. Sometimes music just gets boring. He would listen to Jim Rome sometimes. I'm
Right.
like, all right, this is cool.
Right.
And I knew Joe Rogan had a podcast. and he had,
Yep.
I don't remember what guest he had on, but I was like, Rogan's entertaining. I like his stand up. I like him on UFC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try it out. And I listened to it, and they talked about things I was interested in. They talked about sports and UFC at the time that it was going on. And this was years ago. And 2.5 hours later, I was like, that sucked. I don't want it to be over.
Right.
I want to keep hearing this. So I subscribed to it and I listened to old ones of his. And then the YouTube channel that watch all the time is called Rooster Teeth. And they've been around since before YouTube started. They have a podcast, and their podcast is more of 4 people sit down and bullshit about current events. So I started listening to them, and it's like they would basically catch me up on a week's worth of news. And it was entertaining, though, because they're entertainers. So they would talk about it, but then they would like make a joke about it, and they would talk about it their way. I started getting in their podcast. And then there's a wrestler that I used to really like, Taz. He has one.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to him. Jericho has one. I listened to his. And I started getting into it. I'm like, man, I'm really enjoying this. And then the more I listened to him, the more I just love the idea of it. So it got to a point where a couple of years ago, Josh and I would be playing a video game or something. And we would start talking. And I'm like, man, if this was recording, I would love to hear it a year from now. And I'm sure some people would be laughing their asses off at what he and I have to say, or Brian and I, Ace. Like, we would talk about stuff.
I loved that podcast of you and Brian.
What, the live one or the one?
The one with you two sitting next to each other.
Okay, that was the live one, yeah. A lot of people said good things about that.
Dude,
we have good chemistry.
Robin and I were sitting here laughing out loud.
We have good chemistry, yeah. I've thought about if this ever gets to a point where it's like a co-host thing, he would probably be the one I would go to.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I was like, I got to a point with my creativity, I wasn't drawing as much anymore. Mm-hmm. And I really had that itch of getting something creative going. And like, I talked to some people and they were like, you know, a lot of people are getting going on this streaming thing. They play a video game and stream it. And I'm like, I like games, but I don't want to do that. I was like, I should start my own podcast. So I wonder how to do that. So I started looking it up, and I'm like, well, what do I need? I need 2 mics. I need a boom arm and stuff. And I was like, well, it's actually not as expensive as I thought. And I started editing a little bit on stupid things, and I was like, I could do this. I just did it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the product is pretty darn good. Like I said, the one with Brian was freaking hilarious.
Maybe I need to do a couple more lives with him.
Yeah.
Because I liked. It's funny you said that, because that's actually my least favorite episode that I've done. Because it just, during doing the live, we didn't have a lot of people watching, so not a lot of people were giving us content to talk about, and we just had to try and bullshit our way through it, which turned out to be good, I guess. So I'll have to try it again. We're gonna go out on another song. All right. What do you got?
My oh my, you're so good looking. Hold yourself together like a pair of bookends. But I've not tasted all your cooking. So who are you and I'm not looking? I wanna know. I wanna know. I wanna know. Do you break things when you get mad? Or eat a box of chocolates 'cause you're feeling bad? Do you paint your toes 'cause you bite your nails? Do you call up your mama when all else fails? I wanna know. I wanna know. I wanna know. Now my own my, you're someone looking. But who are you when I'm not looking?
That was awesome. So good. I'm just glad you didn't do one of the 2 songs you always call me up for. Because I was not prepared to sing on my own podcast. But thanks again, cuz. I love you. And I'm hopefully, from what I have planned, you'll be back on real soon.
Yeah, loved you. Had a good time. So that went by really, really quick, actually.
It's surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you're comfortable enough as it is in front of microphones, but as people are, like my buddy Josh and everything, they're like, I don't know, man. I know a mic's there and I'm talking. It's like, you won't even recognize it.
Right.
You're just holding the conversation.
Yep.
So, all right. Later on, guys.
See ya.